All right, everybody, welcome back. We are ready for another deep dive. It's affirmations specifically for autistic children.
Mm.
Now, we hear a lot about affirmations for adults, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a very popular topic, but um, using them to help autistic kids is something that I think is so important, and I don't think it gets enough attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of research out there now showing just how powerful they can be.
Okay, so I'm really excited to dive into that research with you today.
Let's do it.
So let's start with, well, just the basics. How can something as simple as repeating a positive phrase actually make a difference in a child's life?
Right. Yeah. So, one of the biggest things that affirmations can help with is self-esteem.
Okay.
And we know that a lot of autistic children struggle with self-esteem, right?
They do.
They might face, challenges with social interaction or communication, and that can really take a toll on their self-image.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when they repeat these affirmations like, I am strong or I am capable, it's like they're planting these little seeds of positivity in their minds.
I see.
And over time, those seeds can really grow.
So it's almost like counteracting any negative thoughts or beliefs they might have about themselves?
Exactly. And it's not about, just pretending everything is perfect. It's about giving them the tools to challenge those negative thoughts and start to see themselves in a more positive light.
So it's like rewiring their brains a little bit almost.
In a way, yeah, it's helping them create new neural pathways that are associated with positive self-talk.
Oh, wow.
And the more they use these affirmations, the stronger those pathways become.
Okay, so that makes sense with self-esteem. But the research also talks about emotional regulation.
Right.
And I know that, sensory overload and even social anxiety are really common experiences for autistic kids.
Absolutely.
So how can affirmations help in those like really tough moments?
So in those moments, when a child's feeling overwhelmed or anxious, an affirmation can act like a sort of anchor.
Yeah.
It can help them ground themselves and regain a sense of control.
Wow.
So imagine a child who's, maybe having a meltdown because of sensory overload, and they have this affirmation that they can repeat to themselves like, I am calm or I am safe.
Right.
It can help them kind of shift their focus away from all that sensory input and back to a place of peace.
It's like a tool, almost like a coping mechanism.
Exactly. It's giving them a strategy to manage their emotions.
And I think that's so important because, we talk about structure and predictability being so important for autistic children.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can see how affirmations can really fit into that.
Yeah, definitely. So think about it. Incorporating affirmations into a daily routine can provide that sense of predictability and comfort. Like starting each morning with an affirmation like, today's going to be a great day, or ending the day with, I am grateful for all the good things in my life. It kind of creates these bookends of positivity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it can help them feel more grounded and secure.
Yeah, because it's consistent.
Yeah.
It's something they can count on.
Exactly. And that consistency can be so reassuring for autistic children.
One thing that really stuck with me in the research was the connection between affirmations and negative self-talk.
Yeah, that's a really important one.
So could you talk a little bit more about that? Because I think that's something that a lot of parents might not even realize is happening.
Sure. So, negative self-talk is something that we all experience to some extent, right? But for autistic children, it can be particularly challenging because they might take things very literally, or they might have difficulty understanding social cues.
Right.
So if they hear someone say something negative about them, even if it's not intended that way, they might internalize it and start to believe it.
Yeah, like they might take it to heart more than...
Exactly. And that's where affirmations come in.
Okay.
By repeating positive statements about themselves, they're essentially counteracting that negative self-talk and replacing it with more positive and empowering beliefs.
So instead of dwelling on those negative thoughts, it's like they're giving themselves a different narrative.
Exactly. It's like they're rewriting their own story.
I love that.
And that can have a huge impact on their self-esteem, their confidence, their overall well-being.
Yeah, it's like we're talking about self-esteem, emotional regulation routines.
Yeah.
And now this link to negative self-talk, like it's all interconnected.
It is. It's all part of creating a more positive and supportive environment for autistic children to thrive in.
And the research even mentions language development.
Yeah.
Which at first I was like, really?
I know, it seems surprising, right?
Yeah.
But think about it. When children repeat these affirmations, they're not just, saying words. They're actually practicing language skills. They're reinforcing positive language patterns. They're expanding their vocabulary.
It's like they're immersing themselves in positive language.
Exactly. And that can have a ripple effect on their overall communication abilities.
And the research also highlights this connection between affirmations and mindfulness,
Yes.
which seems kind of interesting. So how are those two things related?
Well, when a child repeats an affirmation, they have to focus on the words and their meaning right.
Right.
And that act of focusing brings them into the present moment, which is essentially what mindfulness is all about.
Mm.
So it's like a mini meditation.
It's like a little mindfulness practice.
Exactly. And it can help them develop that ability to be present and aware, which can be really helpful for managing anxiety and stress.
Yeah, and we've talked about so many benefits already, but there's one more I want to touch on, and that's resilience.
Yes, resilience is crucial.
So important. And how do affirmations play a role in building resilience in autistic children?
Well, affirmations foster what's called a growth mindset. So by repeating phrases like, I can learn from my mistakes, or I will keep trying, they're internalizing this belief that challenges are opportunities for growth.
Yeah, and that's so important because everyone faces setbacks and challenges in life.
Absolutely.
And it's how we respond to those challenges that really determines our success.
Exactly. And affirmations can help autistic children develop that inner strength and that perseverance to keep going even when things get tough.
So it's like we've gone from self-esteem to emotional regulation to fostering a growth mindset. Like, it's clear that these simple phrases can have a profound impact on so many different areas of a child's life.
They really can. And I think it's important to remember that every child is unique.
Yeah.
And what works for one child might not work for another. So it's all about finding the affirmations that resonate with each individual child and their specific needs.
So really it's about paying attention to the individual child and what they respond to.
Exactly. It's about being mindful and intentional in how we use affirmations.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, we've uncovered so much about the power of affirmations for autistic children.
We have.
And I'm left thinking about, if these simple phrases can be so transformative for kids, what if we all as adults, embrace them more intentionally in our own lives?
That's a great question.
What kind of positive ripple effects could we create, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us?
I think that's something worth exploring.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation.
It has. Thanks for having me.
And to all of you listening out there, I hope this is giving you some new insights and some inspiration to start incorporating affirmations into your own lives and the lives of your children.
Absolutely. Give it a try. You might be surprised at the difference it makes.
All right, that's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.